From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the news at 10, live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, Federal Government's Safe School Initiative takes off with award of scholarship to 2,400 students from 3 states under emergency rule. Minister of Interior Abba Moro threatens to sack contractors handling the new prisons complex in Kogi State, gives them 2 weeks to complete job. Lagos INEC blames contractors for hitches in distribution of voter cards, as Governor Fashola insists on distribution of all cards in all council areas. And United States military pounds strongholds of Al-Qaeda and its associates in Syria.
And on business news tonight, the Central Bank of Nigeria bans the sale of dollars to specific importers at its foreign exchange auction. While on sports news, Nigeria's Aruna Kadri overhauls Edith Omar Asa to become Africa's highest-ranked table tennis player.
The education of 2,400 students in the 3 states under emergency rule will now continue in unity colleges across the country at the expense of the federal government. Giving this information, the Minister of Finance, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, explains that this scholarship is under the Safe School Initiative and that the government selected 800 students each from the 3 states. Our education correspondent Gloria Umezuke reports.
More than 6 months have elapsed since the news of the abduction of over 200 Chibok schoolgirls first emerged. Weeks after, Nigeria became submerged in a new kind of crisis. Many school children in the affected areas were not able to go to school for fear of more terrorist attacks. As a follow-up to the federal government's launch of the Safe School Initiative on June 17, the President inaugurated a steering committee chaired by the Coordinating Minister of the Economy and Minister of Finance, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala.
Parents who have said that they would like their children from JSS 1 and above to SS3 to go to schools, unity schools in other parts of the country, north and elsewhere, have made themselves known. We have identified 800 students per state for a total of 2,400 students. There are about 42 schools or so that will receive them. The principals and everybody, they've been sensitized, and we are going to commence the launch of this immediately. The students will go on full scholarship. All their needs will be provided.
The federal government is determined that this initiative will bring hope for many of these parents and children in the violence-torn areas whose sense of safety have been shattered.
We have discussed on this issue that some facilities are going to be provided again in the schools, because mind you that the students that are initially in those schools have left the school for the IDPs to be in the schools. So this program is going to include adding some facilities to those students so that they can go back to schools.
The security situation is challenging, but the security sector is working extremely hard to bring stability back to that region, and I think it's through this type of effort that we send the message that the country is united and can in fact work together with its partners domestically, internationally, to address this big challenge of insurgency.
This latest action by the government marks another turning point for the numerous children most affected by terrorist activities. The world, however, continues to observe how the country tackles other issues, including the spate of abduction in the country. Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the military hierarchy today ordered the release of 42 Boko Haram suspects. The Director of Defense Information, Major General Chris Olukolade, told Channels Television today that the release of the suspects was handled by the 7th Division of the Nigerian Army in Maiduguri. Apart from a few of Borno State origin, the other suspects are from Chad, Burkina Faso and Cameroon, and they are to be repatriated immediately by the Nigerian immigration services to their various countries. According to General Olukolade, the suspects were released as there was no sufficient evidence that they are indeed Boko Haram members. The state governor, Kashim Shettima, while receiving the released suspects, said some of them will be put to work in various occupations. As the saying goes, quote, "An idle mind is the devil's workshop," end of quote. And staying with attempts to maintain peace in Borno, the state governor Kashim Shettima has urged residents to cooperate with security agencies to bring lasting peace to the region. The governor made the appeal on his return to Maiduguri, the state capital, after a 3-week stay in Abuja. He was received by state government officials, members of the Road Transport Workers Union, and party loyalists. In the meantime, the Minister of Interior, Mr. Abba Moro, has threatened to terminate the contract for the new Cotton Karfe prison in Kogi State after an attack on the facility last weekend. Now, after inspecting the prison, Mr. Moro gave the contractor a 2-week ultimatum to complete the project. The facility was attacked by unknown gunmen on Sunday, November the 2nd, and over 100 inmates were forcefully released. The minister says he was dissatisfied with the slow pace of work on the project and promised that the government would not hesitate to revoke the contract and re-award it to a more serious and competent contractor. The new prison, which is expected to house 80 inmates upon completion, was awarded by the Shehu Shagari government in 1981, but was then abandoned and re-awarded to President Goodluck Jonathan's administration.
They ordinarily were supposed to finish within a very reasonable time. But because of the circumstances in which we found ourselves, we have been on them to complete even ahead of schedule. For instance, we are coming here now to ensure that all resources are mobilized to ensure that this prison is completed, because no matter how we rehabilitate the older prison, which we did before, that has not given us the expected result of resilience against external attack, it will not solve our problem. And so right now what we desire to do, and which we are going to do, is to ensure that this medium prison is completed within the next couple of weeks. Given the level of work that has been carried out here already, and given the circumstances in which we found ourselves, I've given an ultimatum of 2 weeks, within which the contract for this medium prison should be completed. And the contractors have assured that they will deliver on that date.
We'll move on to aviation now, and the minister there, Mr. Osita Chidoka, says he'll fight corruption to a standstill in the nation's airports. Mr. Chidoka told Channels Television after an anti-corruption workshop organized for airport managers by the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria in partnership with the EFCC that he's worried about the high level of corruption within the sector. The Aviation Ministry believes that airport managers are responsible for the day-to-day running of airports and must take their oversight roles seriously.
What we've done is to go into a collaboration with EFCC to have this interactive session to educate the airport managers on the importance of systems and processes and on the importance of the integrity of that systems and process. More importantly for me is that this creates an opportunity for us to launch one of our key initiatives, which is fighting low-level corruption in Nigerian airports. Low-level corruption in terms of people taking money from passengers, collecting money for performing routine duties, actually in most cases begging or extorting money from people. We're launching a whole program to stamp that out of our airports, to make sure that people understand that yes, the airports is where the elites pass through, but it's not a place for you. You have to perform your function without any inducements. So we're hoping that this institution, strengthening the institutions, strengthening the systems and processes will help us in the war against this low-level corruption. Of course, when we strengthen the institutions, it will also make sure that even high-level corruption is not possible, because the system will have taken care of the system and process of getting things done.
South Africa is sending a high-level governmental team to Nigeria with regard to repatriation of the bodies of their citizens who died in the synagogue guest house collapse nearly 2 months ago. Addressing a post-cabinet press conference in Cape Town and via video link to Pretoria today, the minister in the presidency and the special envoy leading the visiting delegation, Mr. Jeff Radebe, says the purpose of the visit is to meet with the federal and Lagos state governments firsthand with a view to expediting action on the repatriation of the bodies. More than 80 South Africans are believed to have died in the building collapse, and DNA matching is said to still be ongoing in a laboratory in South Africa.
We are going to Nigeria is to expedite the process of repatriating the mortal remains of all South Africans, so that we can get a better understanding officially from the authorities, both in the federal state of Nigeria, in Abuja, as well as the state of Lagos. We are doing this because we can't keep families in a limbo for almost 2 months. So that's why the president has decided that we should go there so that we can find for ourselves where this process is. The challenge that the Nigerian authorities have, which by implication affects us, is that there are 116 who died there. So, and the Nigerian authorities therefore have to identify who out of those 116 are 81 South Africans. That is why they have contracted a facility here in Stellenbosch to do the DNA sampling. So that process is exclusively within the jurisdiction of the Nigerian authorities. So we depend on the information that we get from the Nigerian authorities as to how far they would have gone in this direction.
In part 2, after the break, Delta governorship race hots up with more aspirants joining the contest. That's in a moment. Just stay with us.